Hey, what's going on, guys? It's your boy NerdModeOn, and I'll be doing a gameplay commentary over some Call of Duty Black Ops 2. The commentary will be centralized around the thought of DLC, and I really want to comment and spectate on it in a sense because, I don't buy every DLC for every single game, but at the exact same expense for a majority of the AAA titles, I have bought DLC. So it's all dependent on different categories in which we occupy. Not everybody plays shooters, not everybody plays racing games, and the list goes on. That's why there's categories, and in those categories, there are subcategories. So it all depends on the DLC which the game occupies. It can be anything from maps, to weapons, to extended storylines like we've seen in the past, to adjustments, and free DLC also inclines to that as well. So you have two different kinds of DLC, as many people would expect. You have the free DLC, and you have paid DLC. Free DLC is usually just advancements maybe to a storyline because some people have had issues with an ending. We've seen that in the past couple of years. We've also seen, extended, promotions for centralized maps. Maybe you get an extended trial on some maps to try out DLC like we've seen in Black Ops 2. Maybe that'll also be other maps that have been added to a franchise's game. We've also seen that in the previous Call of Duty, which would be Modern Warfare 3. We did get free maps. So that's the kind of stuff you can get. Not usually you get weapons, but there has been circumstances that do align to that. You can get equipment and stuff like that. That may not always be referred to the Call of Duty franchise because, when you make something, you expect to get paid for it, and that's a good motto to have. I think everybody views that in a positive way. However, you have people that will look at it and just expect DLC to be free. That's a completely different argument for a completely different commentary, but overall, you do have the paid DLC, the one where you get maps, sometimes you'll get weapons, equipment, sometimes you get just better visuals, maybe more destructibility if we want to relate this to other games, and it's not always a bad thing to have. You can also get extended storyline and exclusive clips, which, again, isn't too much of a bad thing to have. If you really want to spend your money wisely, you really want to press yourself into the game you're playing the most, DLC can be a really good thing. It can revitalize a series, it can really add to the experience, and it can make the game a lot more fun than it currently is being. Many of you guys know I don't like Black Ops 2. I would rather play Black Ops 1 any day of the week instead of play this game, but it doesn't do as well. I mean, that's just how it works out. You gotta play things that you don't want to sometimes, and overall, that's how you view it. Now, that's just me. Maybe you guys love Black Ops 2 and you love the DLCs, the microtransactions, which I'll be doing a commentary about here maybe soon. Hopefully you guys will add to the ensuity, which is the comments area, but overall, when it comes down to it, is DLC a bad thing to have for any franchise? Of course not. It's a great thing to have. It revitalizes a series, and it adds to the experience. I'm sure many of you guys are kind of getting to the point where, Call of Duty's getting a little boring, or maybe you're not enjoying it as much as you enjoyed it the first week of it. I think everybody can agree that the first week of a Call of Duty release is, in most cases, the best experience. Now, this doesn't have to be just Call of Duty. If you're a Battlefield guy, you probably feel the same way, though I'm not Battlefield out by any means necessary. I still have a good couple hundred hours left in me, but that's just that. You could also relate this to storyline games like Assassin's Creed, or really anything. Dead Space could also be another one. I mean, anything that has a storyline that is exclusive and most of their time is spent on the storyline, I mean, you kind of like DLC. You want to see what happens to that X character. You want to see if he dies or he lives, or maybe he becomes the hero he was meant to be, or maybe he turns into the villain and kills everybody. That can always be a case too. But DLC is a good thing to have, and, in most cases it revitalizes a series like I've said previous, but it also adds exclusive content to those centralized users that want to pay the money to get it, and that's not a bad thing to have. For Call of Duty, I don't think we've ever seen a weapon that gives you an advantage. Everybody might say the Peacekeeper, but that gun has some pretty crazy recoil patterns. It's a pretty standard gun for damage output, rounds per minute, and it really doesn't do anything just besides say, hey, look, I bought a DLC and I got a cool new gun that I can play with. Or maybe you like to get it for free in a sense by using your friend's account. That's up to you to do, I guess. But overall, that's not exactly something that's too common in most cases. Many people are usually pretty willing to buy their content. But for most cases, guys, as I've stated before, it's always a good thing to have DLC, and I think games need to revitalize and they need to step up their game. Call of Duty definitely stepped it up a little bit this year. They added a lot more weapon DLC. I mean, obviously, Zombies is doing very successful, though, in my opinion, I think the lava kind of ruins it, but that's my opinion. And when it comes down to it, do I buy DLC? Of course I buy DLC. I like to spend my money wisely, but in most cases, I don't buy it for every game. I don't buy it mainly for Call of Duty just because I'm not interested in Call of Duty as much as I was maybe 2-3 years ago. But in other games, Assassin's Creed, I love buying DLC for. It adds way much more experience. In Battlefield, I am all for buying DLC because you get a lot of products for your money. You get way more than I guess other titles, but that's completely up to the pricing point in which they occupy. Of course, you get a discount when you buy premium on the Battlefield side of it, but you know, we've already talked about stuff like that in the way past. But in regards to single-player games, is it a good idea to indulge yourself in DLC? Of course, you get more products, and it really adds to the game in a different aspect, and overall you get different storylines, which can add to a game's success. Is that good for multiplayer in any circumstance that could range from any category in which games occupy? That's completely up to your individual thoughts. If a game you really like right now, it's probably a pretty good idea to buy a DLC for if you can afford it. Of course, affording a product is always the most important. But when it comes down to it, if you don't like a game and it comes out with DLC but you strongly dislike it, well, maybe that game isn't exactly for you anymore. Maybe the DLC just wouldn't occupy you as much as you might think. So that's what you have to determine. You have to really think before you buy something that everybody else buys, and that's my thought on DLC. I buy products, I buy services that I benefit from, and it adds to the gaming experience in which I occupy, and in most cases, I'm very wise about my spending. So anyway, guys, that has been the commentary. I'd love for you guys to indulge me and give me some feedback on this. I would love to do things like this, but I also wanted to know, do you guys buy DLC? And if you do, what kind of DLC do you buy? So, this has been NMO, guys. I'll see you in the next installment, and I'll be signing out. Peace.